What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Gaming Channel. I'm AJ Gels. How y'all doing? We are back once more with the weekly show. As the title of this video says, we are going to be starting off this one with Battlefield 5 news. We'll be showing the opening official trailer. We'll be talking about some actual details for the game, and then getting into just a little bit of my take on a lot of this controversy that's been going on over it. Little hint. I think it's a ridiculous controversy. It's a ridiculous controversy caused by two sides who neither one's going to win, just shouting at each other. I'm not getting involved on it. I think it's better to make a video on this, and then instead of putting stuff out on Twitter and, you know, the 140 character whatever the current character limit is. I don't think that's a good place to have this talk. So I'm gonna give some of my thoughts on it. Like I said, I think it's ridiculous, but whatever. A couple announcements before we actually get into the news. This Sunday, don't expect a whole lot of uploads. I am going to the Indianapolis 500. Can't wait. Loved going the past couple of years. Like I said, I'm going this year. Follow me on Twitter. I'll probably be posting some pictures of me throughout the day. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But I'm gonna be in Indianapolis and away from home, so I will not be able to do uploads during the day. But you know, that's just the way it is. Also, some news coming up for E3, seeing that we got that in a couple weeks. There will be the weekly show next week, but the week after next, there won't be a weekly show, but that's just because there's the EA press conference is going on that Saturday, and basically, I just think doing the weekly show and the EA press conference is just going to be a little weird, so we're just going to be doing the conference. And then, let me see here. I have the planned conferences I'm covering are EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Square Enix, Ubisoft, and Sony. Those are my planned coverages. I think Nintendo's doing something. There's the PC gaming show, and there's one other conference that I'm not entirely sure what it is. Or what it's going to be about. If anybody wants me to cover any of those three or cover anything, any like specific presentations or whatever, please, and this is why I'm telling you guys 2 weeks early, please tell me in the comments and send me links to where I can find like when it is and where I can watch it. And we'll do what I'm going to be doing with the E3 conferences. Then, if you don't know how I do the E3 conferences, basically what I do is I'm trying to think here. Basically what I do, I watch the stream live and I sit and I comment and whatever. We have some fun. Other than that, if you're new to the show, basically what I do, I sit here, I gather video game news from around the web, sit here, we talk about it, I give my takes, I try and give you guys the best information I can, yada, yada, yada. Other than that, links to every article and video are down in the description below, along with timestamps of roughly when they're covered. There we go. Long-winded intro out of the way. Let's get into this. Okay, so far I can say this. That was a really cool sequence. Just, wow. Now I think we're getting into some online gameplay.
Swatting grenade! I got your back!
This, on one side, reminds me a little bit of Okay, so supposedly this trailer was shown to us in actual in-engine, all that. Now, I always think when it's like, it's in-engine, whatever, well, okay, but that's also running on a like a souped-up PC. It's like whenever we see stuff at E3. It's never usually what it really looks like unless you have like some massive PC on it running it. But honestly, I mean, the concept looks neat, but I'm gonna be totally honest with you. This looks like this is gonna, because if anybody didn't know, Battlefield 5 set World War II game. Looks like Battlefield 1 set in World War II. I mean, like right now, this looks like one of those modes. I can't remember exactly what it was called. You had the normal kind of like the capture the flag mode, but looking up at the top with these unit markings. So I mean, you see kind of the flags, but up here is the markings of, looks like how many units each side has remaining. That reminds me a lot of, there's a specific mode. It was kind of like there were objectives that you had to complete, like going from point, clear, like pushing through a map. It was one side's job to defend, one to attack. I can't remember the name of the mode off the top of my head. So maybe it looks like they're kind of combining aspects of the two of them, because here's it looks like the hard point, capture the flag, capture the point, whatever sort of things, mixed with the number of units available. Or it's similar to the original Battlefront, like like I'm talking like the ones back on the PS2, like the Star Wars Battlefront games, where it was a similar thing. You capture, there's actual points to capture, but there's also total units left remaining in the battle. Now I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work, and I'm also not sure how much of this is actually how this is actually all going to look, because this kind of looks like we have the mini map down here, and we're getting like, oh, here's a kill, like pop-ups, like this is multiplayer. This, like we have a HUD, but at the same time, there's a targeting reticle. The actions of the player that we're currently viewing this in first person looks like it's kind of it really looks cinematic. So I'm not sure if this is actually how it's going to look come launch. But already, I can tell you this. Look, this trailer has kind of, as I think this trailer is good. It looks cool. It gets me pumped for the game, kind of like a trailer should be. But I want to see actual gameplay for it, or gameplay that I know it's gameplay, and not that I have to kind of sit here and go, is it supposed to be cinematic? Is it supposed to be gameplay? What is it? See, this is what I mean. This can't be actual gameplay. Unless that's what the actual, like, story mode is going to look like, which is kind of weird, that there's, like, pop-ups on kills and everything, that it's a story mode. Again,
play best on.
That's not technically true. I still prefer my my PS4. Okay, thank God. I was about to say. All right. Oh God, did I accidentally click on something? I apologize for this, guys. I might have accidentally clicked on something. No, do not play videos. Stupid. Stupid thing. There we go. Okay, it looks like a reveal trailer. All right, now into the actual stuff we know about Battlefield. So, right here coming at us by way of IGN, Daniel Krupa. Battlefield 5 release date, first details revealed, no more premium pass. Article, like I said, Daniel Krupa, IGN. The article reads, Battlefield 5 will be released for all players on October 19th on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Looks like, I think that's coming out a little bit before the new Call of Duty, which I think is the 22nd-ish, if memory serves. Battlefield 5 is now available, excuse me, for pre-order. If you opt for the Deluxe Edition, you'll be able to start playing on October 16th. And if you subscribe to EA Access, you'll be able to hop over a week earlier on October 11th. Players that pre-order any edition of the game will, with the Battlefield 5 Enlister offer, gain early access to the open beta and other in-game benefits, including soldier customization options, access to special assignments starting the launch week, and immediate access to 5 weapons to use in Battlefield 5. I suspected the setting for Battlefield 5 will be World War II, but instead of focusing on the most famous battles from the conflict, Normandy, Berlin, Dunkirk, developer DICE is seeking to focus on the untold stories set in the unexplored corners. One of the stories that was teased focused on a young female resistance fighter trying to save her family in the top of Norway, north of the Arctic Circle. Battlefield 5 also before we get into this, right here, where it's talking about like the untold stories and one of these stories, blah 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 blah. I think that this means we're going to see a similar storytelling technique that they used for Battlefield 1, where we had here's the tank driver, and here's the pilot, and here's the there was that one set in Arabia, and here's the Aussie fighting wherever he was fighting. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was like North Africa. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think this is a similar storytelling technique to what they did in Battlefield 1, where it's going to be a grouping of mini stories, not one large story, kind of like how Call of Duty World War II did it. Now, I think there's advantages for both. I think on the way that DICE is going to be doing it, they can tell so many kind of like weird stories, and by doing this kind of the what am I saying here? Kind of like the focus of the untold story set in the unexplored. I think this kind of gives them a little bit more leeway with the history that they can kind of set themselves in, where there's conflict, but create a narrative within where the conflict is. Kind of again like what they did with Battlefield 1. Excuse me, because I mean obviously the characters we were playing as weren't real people, but yet they were set in the real times of conflict. They had realistic aspects to it, but I think this kind of gives them a little bit of leeway to play with the history, and I respect that. I think that's perfectly fine. I think it's a good way to tell stories and a cool like grouping of mini stories. Again, like I'm gonna keep going back to Battlefield 1. Cool idea. Now, personally, I like the way the Call of Duty World War II did it, but that's just because I'm a big Red 1 fan. That's an old Call of Duty game, but I think that's probably my big thing with that. I don't think either is wrong or either is right. I just think it's a different concept. Now I'm cool with it, dig it. But I think that's how the story is going to be told in this game. Battlefield 5 also contains a new cooperative mode called Combined Arms. You'll play in a squad of up to 4, cast in the role of a paratrooper. Your job, along with your teammates, is to go in behind enemy lines, ideally stay undetected, and complete objectives. These tasks are dynamic, and there is a strong risk-reward aspect. You can choose to extract early and play it safe, or go deeper into enemy territory for a bigger reward. It's being referred to as a way to, and I quote, learn the ropes, end quote, of Battlefield for newcomers. So my kind of question is, so this is cooperative mode. Is this PvE or PvP? It's sounding PvE, and I like the concept. It's an interesting idea, kind of a neat little, like, kind of like they're saying, like, training ground. So I'm guessing this is a kind of their training ground to learn tactics for multiplayer. Let's see. Finally, there was another rumor of Battlefield 5 having its own Battle Royale mode. Well, not quite. Tight games of grand operations, Battlefield's multi-round epic game mode. That's what I was talking about, where that was in Battlefield 1. Will now culminate in an extra round known as Last Stand. Essentially, it's sudden death. You've been fighting for 4 rounds, which equate to 4 in-game days, and resources are low. All remaining players will fight until one player remains, and a winner is determined, but staying in a squad is heavily incentivized, as it's the only way to net yourself health and ammo. This is not a standalone mode, but the final round of Grand Operations. In an expanded presentation to IGN, DICE delved much more into some of the changes they're making for Battlefield 5, and you can read all about them in this article. Finally, EA also announced that Battlefield 5 would get rid of Premium Pass, releasing its major post-release content for free. So that means no more paying for modes, no more segmentation of the community. Instead, the game will introduce something called Tides of War, which is how DICE will roll out new content for the game and allow players to earn in-game rewards, including limited time gear such as dog tags, soldier skins, and face paint. To coincide with the announcement, EA is making Battlefield 4's Final Stand and Battlefield 1's In the Name of the Tsar free for a limited time. All in all, I see this being very similar to Battlefield 1. Actually, before I get into that, I'm gonna comment on this. The Grand Operations. It's by saying it's not Battle Royale. I think that's technically true, because what it's sounding like is the final mode or the final round is Battle Royale, which doesn't make a lot of sense if it's like I'm playing on one side, my side just got defeated, so now we're all going to fight each other until one remains. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Unless we're fighting it out with the other side. Is it like a team battle royale, or is it a... I need more details in this until I make a firm decision, because depending on how they do it, it could be really cool, but also it could be a very, very odd choice. Now, overall, I'm finding this game, I think it's going to be like kind of like Battlefield 1 for me, where I'm going to play it for a little bit, I'm going to really like it for the time I play it, but after I finish it, there's not going to be a lot to draw me back to. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, Call of Duty WW2 did the same thing to me. It just didn't pull me back into it after I'd finished the game. I'm like, okay, once was enough. I really liked it. But once was enough. And I think that's the problem with some of these shooters. And again, I keep saying it. Where's my sequel to Call of Duty Ghosts? Where's my sequel to the Call of Duty games that I would play again? Like, I'd play Infinite War again. I'd play Advanced War. I played Advanced Warfare story multiple times. I don't know. There was something about those that drew me back into those story modes, and something about World War II that just didn't. Something about Battlefield 1 that just didn't draw me back to it. And again, I liked them. There's just something about them. Okay, moving on. God, again, what is up with my... Sorry, guys. Something's going on with my... Leave me alone. I don't care about The Incredibles. Let's see here. Battlefield 5 trailer... There we go. Sorry, something was popping up on my other screen. EA has confirmed some extra details about Battlefield... Oh, excuse me, I got a little flustered there. Battlefield 5 trailer, in-engine footage, microtransactions will be cosmetic only, no loot boxes. I stand by it. I'll say it again. The fact that no loot boxes is news nowadays and requires articles just drives me nuts. Article Jordan Alleman, IGN. EA has confirmed some extra details about Battlefield 5, including microtransactions and loot boxes, as well as more information about its reveal trailer. An EA representative confirmed to IGN following the reveal of Battlefield 5 that the action seen in the trailer was, and I quote, all in-engine footage and representative of the things you can do in the game, end quote. But again, my question was what we saw, was that, like, the way that the character was reacting to the world, was that cinematic, or was that actually how your character will react to the world in multiplayer as stuff happens? Or was that a story chunk, or what was going on in that? That's my question. Just 'cause if the HUD aspects wouldn't have showed up, I wouldn't be questioning that. But the HUD aspect, like the stuff on the HUD showed up, and that threw me a little bit. EA also confirmed to IGN that the game will not feature loot boxes and that items available for purchase in-game are cosmetic only, and I quote, what you can purchase are vanity items directly and through grind and premium currency, end quote, a representative for EA told IGN, and I quote, you cannot pay for any advantage or power in Battlefield 5, end quote. The new entry in the Battlefield series is set in World War II, offers a number of new features, including 4-player co-op mode called Combined Arms, steady stream of new content, all that stuff we covered in the last video. Again, interested to see where this game is going to take us. There you go, if you were interested in loot boxes or microtransactions, whatever. And like I said, just the in-engine footage, I have questions about it. And I'd like to know more. And honestly, I'm gonna assume we're gonna see some more of this come E3, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, into the bull crap here. And this is what I was talking about when I said at the beginning, I'm not taking a side here on this controversy. Now, if anybody doesn't know about what this controversy was, it was over the character that we were seeing a lot in the trailer, the woman with the prosthetic arm. Now, a lot of people are sitting, and now on one side, it's the historical accuracy debate, and the women on the front lines, yada yada yada, and on the other side, you have the gaming journalists who are yelling at these people. Some saying, you're afraid that a woman's going to hurt your masculinity, and then there's the one saying, there's one I saw, historical accuracy, yet you don't mind a guy sliding 20 feet and shooting a bunch of people, whatever, while sliding on the ground, realism, blah 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 blah. And again, I'll say it this way: I think both sides are ridiculous here. On the one side, I don't make the historical on the side that's against this, don't make the historical accuracy argument, because I don't think that's your best argument. I really don't think that's the best argument for this, because I honestly think this side is making, and again, this is my interpretation of it. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but this is my interpretation of it. I think this has been a thing that's been happening in the gaming industry since, this goes all the way back to the Gamergate debacle. This goes all the way back to the Anita Sarkeesians and all that stuff. Where when that stuff started happening, people started, every time we're seeing more and more push for female characters. We're seeing more and more of this nowadays. Now, again, I think it's hit and miss. I think, just like any character is, I think if the character fits in the game, I don't care, gender, race, whatever, that shit doesn't matter to me. It matters to me, is the character good? Back into the actual controversy. Since all that stuff happened, I think people have started to see this push, and they're starting to go, well, is this a female character because you want more female characters, or is this a female character because this is what you guys thought would be best for the story? That's I think how people are seeing it, but they're not saying it like that. They're not trying to make it like an honest argument here. They're trying to say, well, it's historical accuracy. Well, women didn't fight on the front lines. Well, that's not technically true. There were some. I think to the amount that, again, a lot of the gaming journalist says, and again, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe I have my history wrong here. It's not to the number that they're saying, but also to the other side. It did happen, especially in the French resistance, the Russians. There were aspects of it. You know, it wasn't. It's one of those that it's not as common as, I don't think it's as common as one side thinks, and it's not as uncommon as the other. And again, my history could be wrong. Always happy to hear from people trying to tell me. Just don't, as I'll say it, don't be the kind of like there's these two camps, and then there's a third camp who just hates everything and just wants to argue and fight, and just don't be one of those guys. And because that group, I try and stay as far away from as possible, because I want to have fun when I play video games, and I hate the fact that I'm even talking about this, because I want to talk about fun shit. But this has annoyed me to the point where I thought doing a video on this was better than just mouthing off on Twitter. So like I said, I think the side that's against this, that's having problems with this, that's wary about this, has a point, if that's the argument that they're truly making, underlying a lot of bullcrap. Now, on the other side, I understand their thing, which is, well, let the developer make what they want to make, but then you're attacking the people in a vitriolic way, which keeps pushing this division between a lot of the gamers and a lot of the gaming press. Because I think a lot of the gaming press right now has really divided itself from the gamers, and again, this goes back to Gamergate. I don't think there's been kind of a more of a merger between them since then, which is sad, because I think it can happen. Again, I think it kind of comes down to, you have to find who you can trust in the gaming press. Again, I have Colin Moriarty. I retweet him a lot on his takes on games, because I think he's one of the most fair commentators. I like what he says. Honestly, I think his take on this whole controversy, I think he still takes a side, unlike me, but I think he at least makes better points, and he does a point to not wag the finger. I think he makes his point in a polite way and not trying to be a jackass, and I like that. So I think that's the problem here. I think both sides are honestly just yelling at each other, and again, the side that's for representation and that's for all this stuff, again, you guys have arguments you can make, but you're not making those arguments. You're just throwing accusations and insults at one side, and the other side, they have arguments that they can be making, and they're just throwing insults and anger and vitriol at the other side. So it's honestly, this entire controversy has been fueled by two sides of people just shouting at each other, not trying to understand or not trying to actually argue. It's just shouting. It's just dumb shouting matches that aren't going to go anywhere. There we go. There's my take on the controversy. Now, EA comes out and does something. This is the thing that I really wanted to talk about, was this article that came out about this. EA comes out and does something that I really don't think they should have done. I think they made a big mistake making this comment, and that is, Electronic Arts says female playable characters are here to stay. It's not entirely what they said, because there was more to the statement, but that's about what they say. Article, PC Gamer, Andy Chalk. Look, saying that gives the side who are against your game, that gives them a footing. Because again, if the argument that I think they're making, that they're seeing this as almost an invasion of a hobby, that you're trying to push political and social agendas within video games this gives them a footing there. Because it's not necessarily because again, I don't think it's the presence of women. Because there's tons of good games that have women in it that are loved. It's not necessarily the presence of a woman. It's how they see it being done, I think, is the issue. Again, it's the issue here. I think saying this gives them footing, because it makes it seem like, yes, this is an organized push, not a... What? Again, this gives them a footing here, and again, I'm trying to think the best way to explain why this gives them a footing. This is almost an example that they can say, see, this is ideology and an actual goal that they're trying, again, things that they're trying to push, not just, we thought it worked. Again, I guess you could take it either way depending on how you read it. Basically by saying, well, it works here, so we're going to use it. That's one reading, but the other reading is, well, we're going to keep doing this, so deal with it. That just, again, it's a thing that's not going to bring people together. It's a thing that's just going to keep dividing the gaming community. And God, I hate using the word community there, but it's just something that's just going to keep dividing people, and it's not a smart plan, especially when you're EA and people already aren't happy with you a lot of times. Whew. All right, okay, actually into the article here. The big Battlefield 5 reveal earlier this week was not without controversy, much of it driven by the presence of a woman on the cover of the box, and not a demure nurse watching over wounded warriors in the tranquil English countryside. No, this lady is pissed off and packing heat. As if that wasn't bad enough, another woman featured prominently in the Guns Blazing debut trailer, wielding a Tommy gun, a sniper rifle, and eventually a cricket bat wrapped in barbed wire. Yes, it's that kind of trailer. It's also the same woman, I believe. I can't see. Is her other arm... Is there other... No. Never mind. I thought I saw the prosthetic. I think it's cool box art. And again, I think if you would have put a woman on it as a nurse, I think it would have pissed people off for another reason. Because what is this? Because then it's not... That's a different argument. That's a totally different thing. But again, I still question: is it because it's a woman, or is it there other things under it that the other side's not making good arguments about? See, their presence has prompted a considerable backlash from gamers concerned about the historical accuracy, in quotes, of Battlefield 5's representation of the war. Never mind that such things haven't been too much of a pressing concern in previous Battlefield games or real war shooters in general. There's even a hashtag not my Battlefield hashtag making the rounds. Again, I think that's ridiculous. I think there are some aspects of it that people need to get over. Yet again, here we go again. It's the historical accuracy. I don't think is a good point. But here we go. But whatever. None of which is going to change EA's mind on the direction it's headed. DICE general manager Oscar Gabrielson, there we go, spun up his personal Twitter account today to share a few thoughts on the matter, and there's no mistaking his position. First, let me be clear about one thing: player choice and female playable characters are here to stay. Well, there is some mistaking his position, because again, it's depending on how you read this, and I think each side is going to read it the way they want to read it. And then you have people like me who are left out in the middle here going, I just want to play a game. I just want to play the video game. See here, and I quote, "We want Battlefield 5 to represent all those who were a part of the greatest drama in human history and give players choice to choose and customize the characters they play with," end quote. He wrote, and I quote, "Our commitment as a studio is to do everything we can to create games that are inclusive and diverse. We always set out to push boundaries and deliver unexpected experiences, but above all, our games must be fun," end quote. See, and again, this is kind of like talking out of two sides of your mouth to talk to each group. It's saying, well, we want to push boundaries and be inclusive and diverse, but also want to be fun. And I'm not saying those are exclusive concepts. What I'm saying here is, again, I'm trying to be very careful with my words, because I'm not trying to take a side here. But what I'm saying is, again, more and more, you're giving clout to what the side against you is saying. The way you're putting this by saying we're looking to create games that are inclusive and diverse. Well, again, that makes it sound like you're trying to push agendas, you're trying to push politics, you're trying to push social commentary on people who don't want it. And that's going to make them say fuck you and fight you harder. What they want is a game to be fun. They just want to play a game. It's why I loved Call of Duty World War II. It was just a simple World War II shooter. I loved it. It didn't need to be anything more. But again, I understand what they're and again, and this is where I disagree with Colin Moriarty, where he says, what is it called? World War II is kind of a played out genre. And honestly, I'd play a game like Call of Duty World War II every year. That's just how it is. I loved like Band of Brothers and stuff like that. So that's maybe my own bias showing up here. But again, it's a problem when you hear the words inclusive and diverse like this. It sends off alarm bells in some people's heads. It starts making them think that you're trying to either radically change the industry, try and make it so these people who disagree with you aren't going to be a part of the industry anymore, and that they can't play games. And it's just, I think this is a horrible way to even go about it. I feel like this is not inflammatory. This is a way to try. I'm trying to think of the best way to put this here, so that everyone will understand me with what I'm saying is. I think one side is seeing this as them trying to push them out and tell them that they're wrong and tell them XYZ, while the other side is trying to tell them, look, we're trying to show different sides of this conflict. And again, it's maybe that involves showing women. But at the same time, what you're saying doesn't sound like, hey, we're trying to show stories that haven't been shown before and this and that. There's part of it that sounds like that, but there's a part of it that says, look, we have a political and social ideology that we're also trying to push underneath it. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's get to the end of this, because I'm going to keep going around in circles here. To emphasize that last point, he tweeted another image that's been widely shared recently that really cuts to the heart of the conversation about Battlefield's commitment to history. Because this is in multiplayer. This is not in story mode. Naturally, not everyone is satisfied with Gabrielson's response, but it's certainly unambiguous. No, it is ambiguous depending on how you read it. Though he might be trying to be specific, but again, it's the intent behind the words that are questionable. Admirably so, I'd say. And honestly, if the biggest complaint about the realism of the BF5 reveal trailer is the presence of women, I mean a V1 as a close support weapon, come on, that's just silly, then perhaps realism isn't the real issue at all. Like I said, I don't think it is. Battlefield 5 is set to come out, blah, 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 blah. Again, I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think they're making the real argument here. I think they're using something that's going to try and close it up really quick, and that's not the proper argument. And again, like I said, saying, well, this doesn't look very realistic. Yeah, it's multiplayer and people being weird. Of course it's not realistic. There we go. There's my takes on it. Again, one last time to sum up everything. If you've made it all the way through this, congratulations. Overall, I think both sides are ridiculous. I think both sides are just, instead of actually talking to each other, they're just shouting. Nobody's going to win here. Nobody's going to whatever. It makes me mad that this is even happening, because I got to put up with this instead of learning more about the game. So there we go. There's been my take on this. Let's move on. Let's go to the next. I'm going to set up the next couple articles. I'm going to stand up and try and calm down, because I'm really kind of sad right now. I'll set up the next couple articles, and it'll be happier stuff. So, all right, guys. Well, we're back out of the minefield that was that last segment. I gotta be honest, I was super uncomfortable sitting there doing that, just because I was doing the first couple things, going, I gotta cover the controversy, which felt like I was kind of like about to walk into a minefield. and then actually talking about the stuff, which, hey, guess what, was kind of like walking through a minefield, because I'm trying not to piss anyone off, because that's not what I want to do and not what I want this channel to be about. But I was going crazy, not getting a take on all this, which, again, my take is just, everything is just stupid. So I feel like I was a little cyclical, and they're just constantly hitting on the same points, and I apologize if it was kind of hard to listen to. Whatever. Either way, this block is all about happy things. I put on my reading glasses, so hopefully I won't stumble through everything that I read here. Let's get into this. Far Cry 5's Vietnam expansion gets a release date and a new trailer. Ooh. Article Eddie Makuch, GameSpot. Far Cry 5's first expansion, Hours of Darkness, will launch on June 5th, Ubisoft announced today. You'll play as Far Cry 5 story character Wendell Red Redler, but in a different period in time. Namely, Hours of Darkness is set during the Vietnam War and follows Red as he finds and rescues his squad mates in the jungle as he fights against NVA and VC soldiers. Hours of Darkness is playable solo or in co-op, just like the main game, and it also includes, and I quote, new gear and abilities. There are also 2 new mods that you unlock after completing the story, the first of which is Survivor Mode. As its name suggests, this is a more challenging mode that limits your loadout. The other mode is Action Movie Mode, which is basically the opposite, as it gives you a generous loadout for more action. Honestly, from what this... Wendell Redler... Oh, that was the dude who had you picking up the lighters! Oh, I just had a thought. Like all the DLC for this game was kind of weird stuff. Like we had this Vietnam one. There's something with there's something with zombies, and there's something I want to say with aliens. Maybe I can't remember the third one exactly. But Wendell Redler had you hunting down his lighters to get into one of his bunker. So okay, so since we're playing as him in Vietnam, I'm going to guess the zombie one has to do with those comic books for that girl that we were collecting in the Far Cry 5 story mode. I have a feeling that those characters give us hints to the DLCs. That's interesting. But also, my big thing here is that we're playing as an actual character with a voice and we're playing as a character this time around. So my question is, how I'm sitting here going, am I going to like this now? Because my big thing with Far Cry 5, and I have the review done, I just need to read it. I was busy yesterday with Detroit and Heavy Rain, that I just need to sit down and read and edit it and put out the review. Find that over on the website down in the description below. Back on topic here. Far Cry 5, my biggest issue was the fact that we play that nameless, voiceless character, which I never like when we play as that kind of character, just because I feel like it doesn't set us up for anything. It's just kind of boring. It's kind of our character isn't a participant in what's happening. It's just kind of you go do this. Like, we're just being told to do things, and we're just watching something happen. We're not actively doing things. So with this, maybe it'll get me a little bit more. But let's watch this short trailer.
Right on your 5. We're going down.
See,
You don't always get to choose who lives and who dies. All you can do is stand with your brother.
Do me a favor, cowboy.
Come hell or high water.
You with me?
And if you're lucky, everyone makes it out alive.
Okay, sold me. I'm pumped. I have the season pass, and ooh, I have Far Cry 3 that I can play whenever that comes out. Is that already out? I haven't checked. Just lost my train of thought. Yeah, game looks awesome. I like the concept. It's kind of reminding me of oh, come on. Why can't I remember the name of the game or the name of the movie? Oh my god, I can't remember the name of the movie. I feel really bad. I like the movie too. Another Vietnam movie. Interesting concept. I liked that when you saw the helicopter crashing, it was kind of in that comic book style. I think they're going to play around with that. I'm not expecting it to go as crazy as like Blood Dragon, but I think it's going to be a little wacky. I mean, it's Far Cry, so duh. So here, on top of the Hours of Darkness expansion itself, all Far Cry 5 players, whether or not they buy the add-on, are getting new Vietnam-themed content for the Far Cry Arcade. These assets can be used for any map you make using the arcade tools. Ubisoft added that Far Cry 5's future expansions will also include themed assets for free. You can get Hours of Darkness by itself for $12 US. It is also included with the game's $30 Season Pass and $90 Gold Edition. 2 more expansions will follow Hours of Darkness, including Last on Mars, in which you fight aliens on Mars, and Dead Living Zombies, in which you fight zombies. Okay, so yeah, I was right. One involved aliens. Oh, maybe it's that crazy scientist guy that we had abducted. Maybe that's going to involve something. In other news, Ubisoft today released the Hours of Darkness soundtrack, which can be listened to Spotify embedded below. We're not going to do that just because that's there's gonna be the copyright issue there. Anyone know? It said release date, yet they didn't mention the release date anywhere in this this article. Or oh wait, is it further in this? Let's see here. Okay, it's not there. Except Far Cry Presents. Yeah, there's no release date there. Are we being lied to? Give me a second. Let me look this up. Okay, I found it. I don't know why it wasn't listed in this article, but we did actually get a release date. It's on June 5th. So it's the same day as Vampire, actually. So it looks like we'll have more stuff to play on that day. Oh, just so much to play. All right, moving on. Yeah, final thoughts. I like the idea. I can't wait. I think the Vietnam one was the one that I was most excited about because personally I like the I don't know. There's really, we don't get a lot of games set in that time period, so I'm kind of interested to play as that. And also the zombies in the Mars one look fun, but those look a little bit more like Blood Dragon. Well, I think Hours of Darkness seems a little bit more serious, and I'm definitely interested. Moving on, something that's not necessarily game news, but I remember talking about this when it first happened because I thought this guy was a gigantic piece of crap, and really glad this is happening. Federal charges brought against 3 men involved in deadly Kansas swatting. Andrew Fitch of Wichita, Kansas, was killed by police responding to a false report of a murder hostage situation. Article Andy Chalk, PC Gamer. Federal charges have been brought against Tyler Barris, the man who instigated a swatting that led to the killing of a man in late 2018 I'm gonna guess that's in late 2017, but whatever. In Wichita, Kansas. The charges, including making false reports to emergency services, cyber stalking, making interstate threats, and wire fraud, come on top of state-level charges that were filed shortly after the incident. Interestingly, federal charges were also brought against the 2 Call of Duty players who initiated the hoax, Casey Viner and Shane Gaskill. Viner asked Barris, a known swatter under the name of Swatistic, to swat Gaskill over a dispute arising from a Call of Duty match. Gaskill repeatedly and knowingly provided an old address to Barris, which Barris used when he called in false report claiming that someone in the house had murdered one of his parents and was holding the rest of the family hostage. Okay, now I think the biggest question here is, should the Gaskill guy, should he be having charges brought against him? Now, he did bring up an actual address. I think my initial reporting of this, I think I said, really what you should have done is, oh, you want my address, 1234, go fuck yourself, Lane. But I know, not very clever, but makes me chuckle. Yeah, I think saying that was like, it was negligent was something, but is it comparable to what the other guys did? Was it comparable to what the other guy? Was it comparable to what the Viner or Viner or whatever, how it's pronounced? Was it comparable to what that guy did in asking this guy who's known to swat people, and the guy, and then the SWAT guy, the guy who called in the threat, or called in the call, God damn it, who made the call? Is he even at the same level as the other two? I think if anything, his charges should be different. Should they be on the federal level or on a state level? That's up for debate, because again, there's this question that since this is technically taking place over multiple states, that this is a federal issue. But I am glad to see that there is some that there's retribution, or that there is some higher level charges being made in this case to at least 2 of the 3, and I think the third one, that is up for debate, and I go back and forth, because I think on some level he's liable because he did give a real address that somebody could have, that somebody could have been hurt, but he also gave that address not knowing that this was going to be happen. So you know what I mean? It's one of those that I'm like, is he liable? Is he negligent? Is he? These are, and I'm talking about the Shane Gaskill guy, the guy who just said an address, and that's where, as far as I can tell, his involvement stops. That's what I'm saying is, and tell me what you think in the description. Do you think that there's that he should be charged at the same level, still charged but at a lower level, not charged? I'm not sure where I lie. I go back and forth between no and yes. But I definitely don't think not at the same level. But again, tell me what you think. I'm interested to hear about this. See, the false report led police to shoot and kill 28-year-old Andrew Finch, who was not involved in the dispute and unarmed when he stepped out onto the front porch of his home after police arrived. When Viner, and Gaskill became aware of the entirely predictable consequences of their thunderingly stupid and reckless behavior, they conspired to delete evidence of their interactions in order to avoid prosecution. Now we have chargeable offenses. Over Gaskill. I don't think he should have done that. I think, if anything, he should have come up with come up and said, look, this happened. I was not involved with the call. I was not involved with yada, 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 yada. That you could charge him for that. At least, because I feel like that's destruction of evidence, and that's an entirely different charge. I mean, I think it's for this guy, the Viner guy, that's still, and again, this is with my understanding of how the law works. This deleting of evidence and everything goes along with probably his conspiracy charge, which I'm gonna guess would be a conspiracy charge with Barris and whatnot. But again, the Gaskill guy, I think if there's any charges, I think this is the stuff he can be charged for, was deleting the evidence. Now, and again, calling what he did thunderingly stupid and reckless, I would say that's for the Gaskill guy. I think that's a fair enough thing to say. Thunderously stupid and reckless. Now, on his part, is what happened a predictable consequence that somebody was going to SWAT him? I don't think so. I don't know about other people, but I don't think that's a predictable consequence. Now, for the Viner guy, I definitely think it's a predictable consequence, because you call a person and say, hey, do this to this person. So yeah, I think the Gaskill guy is, or maybe didn't call him, but you know what I mean, got in touch with this jackass. But yeah, again, the Gaskill guy, again, I question what charges should be brought up against him. I think he's the most interesting in this case, as far as a legal perspective go. I don't like any of this, because of course this ended in the death of a guy who had nothing to do with this, and this is all horrible. It's like I said, but if I kind of remove it and kind of get into my kind of like robot non-emotional mode, my question becomes, well, where does this guy fit into this, like into the charges? I find that very interesting. Let's see here. Because of those actions, Viner now faces charges of wire fraud, conspiracy to make false reports, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to obstruct justice, while Gaskill has been charged with obstruction of justice, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and wire fraud. I want to know where the wire fraud comes in, but I can definitely understand the obstruction of justice and conspiracy to obstruct justice. I can understand that. But the wire fraud is interesting. The charges are serious: making a false report resulting in the death of a person, or cyberstalking resulting in the death, carry penalties of up to life in prison and a fine of $250,000. They had not previously been charged in relation to the incident. As reported by Variety last month, the police officer who actually killed Finch was not charged in the incident. Sedgwick County District Attorney Mark Bennett determined that the officer in question believed that Finch died from his injury in March, Kansas. That would make swatting the resultant death or extreme injury punishable by up to 41 years in prison. Good. The people who do this stuff should be in jail, because this isn't just wasting the time of the police. This is putting people in danger. this is not a good thing, because you're sending cops into thinking that they're dealing with a hostage situation. That's horrible. That's horrible. Everyone that puts them on edge. Somebody comes out confused and is gonna can end up getting shot. I mean, there's a really bad, like, what happened here. This was a horrible incident, and like I said, the Viner guy and the Barris guy, definitely they should be in jail forever. If you ask me, they should be in jail forever, because what they did was horrible. Absolutely horrible. But again, the Gaskill guy, I have questions of exactly how long he should be if in prison. My question is how long, because I mean, like I said, I think obstruction of justice. If anybody knows how he's being charged with wire fraud, tell me. Maybe it's my misunderstanding of wire fraud, but tell me how he's being charged with that. I understand the obstruction of justice and the conspiracy to obstruct justice charges on him, but again, like I keep coming back to, tell me what you think. What should Gaskill's punishment be? Should he be charged at the same level, at a lower level, or not at all? I think right now, given everything that we found out in this article, I say at a lower level, because and I'm glad to know that he's not getting the conspiracy to make false reports or whatever, because it seems like he didn't have anything to do with that. His involvement in the actual death of Andrew Finch was just giving an address, not knowing that would happen. Now again, stupid thing to do. But should he be in jail for it? I think is questionable. Now, should he be in jail for the obstruction of justice causes? That's up to the courts. But like I said, tell me what you think. I can still sit here and just kind of vamp on this for a little bit, because I find this stuff super interesting. But I think you get my opinions. So let's move on. Oops. All right. Article from Destructoid by Chris Moyes. Hopefully that's correct. Update: Sega's PS3 Yakuza titles are being remastered for PS4. I just want to say that I have been predicting this for so long. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, and I put this out on Twitter when I retweeted this article. I'm not saying that I was, this was an out of left field prediction, but it's still kind of nice to get a win, because I'm wrong when I predict things. Let's see here. In a move that makes complete sense, Sega have announced that PS3 titles Yakuza 3, 4, and 5 will all be coming to the PS4 in Japan within the next 12 months. Publisher made the announcement in this week's issue of Dengeki PlayStation. Although there is little in the way of details, these don't appear to be ground-up remakes like the excellent Yakuza Kiwami and Kiwami 2, but the remastered titles will be given a fresh coat of paint for their return with improved resolutions and frame rates. The Yakuza series, now over a decade old, only really blew up worldwide with the arrival of Yakuza 0 in 2017. This was followed by the successful release of remake Kiwami and final chapter Yakuza 6, The Song of Life. Now that the series has a whole new generation of fans, these remasters will allow them to experience the Kazuma Kiryu story all on one console, well apart for that time he fought zombies. Fair enough. That was a Wii title, if I remember correctly. Yakuza 3 is scheduled for release in Japan on August 9th, Yakuza 4 follow in fall, Yakuza 5 in spring 2019. No Western announcement was made, but given the series' recent success, plus the fact that there are already localized versions of these games available, it will be silly not to bring these great re-releases overseas. Yakuza 3, 4, 5 being remastered, PS4 platform. Gamatsu, Ryokutuya 2089. I think that's spot on. I think it's obvious that these are going to be brought over to the West. And I think that's fairly. That's a very safe bet. And even then, I mean, with the PS4 is not region locked. So I guess maybe you can import a copy, but I mean it's going to be all in Japanese. So, but again, I have no doubt that these. I'm gonna retract that. I have very little doubt that these are going to be brought over to the West, and I'm stoked because honestly I haven't played 3, 4, 5, and I playing all the way through 0 and Kiwami. I'm gonna play Kiwami 2. I purchased 3, 4, 5. I'm up. I'm up for it. Excuse me. Let's see. There's an update. A few more very minor details have come out come through. The games will run at 1080p and 60 FPS. They will, content-wise, be mostly unchanged from the original releases. Pre-ordering the first release, Yakuza 3 in Japan, will also bag you the original soundtrack. Yeah, not surprising. I mean, they're not going to completely do everything redone in the Dragon Engine and the Kiwami remakes for 3, 4, 5. But I think that this was the smart move, that just re-releasing just a touched-up version for the PS4 was a great idea. That's about all I got on this one. Moving on to our final couple in this block. I still have some more. I think another 4 or 5 articles still left to go. PlayStation still experimenting with portable gaming. Article just scrubbles IGN. Come on, Vita 2. New PlayStation boss, John Kodera, has said that he wants the company to continue thinking about portable gaming. Speaking to Bloomberg, Kodera said it was, and I quote, not yet the right stage to discuss specific hardware plans, end quote, but that the company was carrying out experiments in the area, and I quote, in my opinion, rather than separating portable gaming from consoles, it's necessary to continue thinking of it as one method to deliver more gaming experiences and exploiting what our customers want. Not exploiting, exploring what our customers want from portable. We want to think about many options, end quote. When I said exploiting, I'm just like, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like something different. Like I said, hopefully that means Vita 2 or something similar to the Vita, because I love the Vita. But too bad I love the Vita way too late. But I'm interested to see what Sony's going to be doing with that. I mean, are we going to see something similar to like Sony's answer to the Nintendo Switch? I highly doubt that the PS5 is going to be a hybrid home portable console, because I think Nintendo is about the only company that can do that, because I think stuff like the PlayStation can't take the graphical hit that it's going to do to kind of do that hybrid console. Now, I'm not saying things look bad on the Switch, but I think they look better on PlayStation and the more truly established home consoles. Let's say that. Sony now runs a smartphone game developer, Forward Works, but has scaled back much of its portable output elsewhere. Only last week, the company announced that it will soon end production of physical cartridges for PlayStation Vita, and the PS Plus subscription service will stop offering Vita games as part of its monthly offerings next year. Last year, Sony filed a patent for what looked like a Nintendo Switch-like handheld console, but ex-PlayStation boss Andrew House called the market limited and dismissed the idea of Sony-made Switch competitor. It's not clear if Kodera is thinking of reversing that approach, or if his focus is more on smartphones and the likes of PlayLink games, which connect portable devices to the PS4. Now, the PlayLink is interesting, and go check it out. I'm not going to fully go into what PlayLink is. It basically it turns your phone into like a controller. And there's a few interesting titles that I want to know more about before I make a full decision on PlayLink. See, but I think so. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just my hopes and my bias, but I think Sony, if they put their money into it, I think if they do a Vita 2, I think there's enough people who like the Vita that it would make it worth your while. And maybe I'm totally wrong here, but I think a Vita 2 would be a good idea. Now, a Vita or like a Vita like Switch competitor, I don't think that there's a way that Sony can do that. I don't think that they can make a true Switch competitor, but I don't think anyone can make a Switch competitor. I think that's one of those things that Nintendo is one of the only companies I think could do something like that and do something. Because again, I still remember when the Switch came out, I had massive misgivings, and then it came out and they knocked it out of the ballpark, and I got to hand it to them for that. But I really don't think that Sony could do a competitor to the Switch. But again, I don't think anyone can. Let's see here. I finished this up. That approach may well be connected to where PlayStation as a whole heads next. Kodera recently confirmed that PlayStation 4 is entering the final phase of its life cycle, with the future of the brand likely to be visible by March 2021. And with that actually leads us perfectly into this next article. The PS5 still 3 years away, says PlayStation boss. We will use blah, blah, blah. Patrick Fowler, GameSpot. Article reads, if you thought Sony's announcement Tuesday that the PS4 had entered the end of its life cycle meant a new console was coming soon, you may have longer to wait than expected. Sony's head of PlayStation, John Kodera, has said the company will take the next 3 years to develop the 5th generation PlayStation console, reports the Wall Street Journal. And I quote, we will use the next 3 years to prepare the next step to crouch down so that we can jump higher in the future, end quote, said Kodera. Honestly, that 2021 was about what I was thinking when I heard final, the end of its life cycle. I was thinking 2020, 2021. I'm like, don't think it's... I think it's a little too soon in 1 or 2 years away, but I think about 3 years is... excuse me, voice crack. I think about another 3 years with the PlayStation 4 is about right. At least that's my opinion. I don't know about the rest of you. Excuse me. Let's keep going here. The announcement means the company is looking at a slower update cycle than usual. The next generation of PlayStation console usually comes 6-7 years after the current one is released. The PlayStation 4 was released in 2013, and since then it has sold more than 79 million units. And I think that's why. I think the PlayStation 4 was such a smash that honestly they haven't really had to come up with the next thing, and it doesn't look like Xbox is really pushing that they're what's the Xbox 2 or whatever Xbox's next thing is going to be, whatever their next generation of console and hardware is going to be. I'm not sure what I don't see why Sony would push the PlayStation 5 just yet. And like I said, PS4 has been extremely well received. It's still putting out units, so why rush a new console? I say take your time, make it really good, and then continue this great success of the PlayStation 4. On Tuesday, Sony's new CEO, Kenichiro Yoshida, released a 3-year business plan for the company. He is forecasting that profits will dip slightly towards 2021. Yeah, slightly below the $1.6 billion it made the past fiscal year. The Wall Street Journal interviewed Kodera then and reports him saying the end of the PS4 would have only a minor effect on the company, as it has been moving PlayStation's focus from hardware to online subscription services. Its goal is to add revenue sources that are more stable than volatile hardware and software sales. Follow our full coverage of Sony's 3-year plan and how to discuss blah, blah, blah. Given the long wait until the PlayStation 5 is released, again, the general ending article stuff. Yeah, I think pushing to a PS Plus and everything, I get why they do it. And the online subscriptions, I think that's smart. And also, I mean, again, I'll say it. You can taking a little bit of a dip in PlayStation and PS4 sales for Sony isn't going to really hurt them that terribly much. Again, over 79 million units. I mean, look, the PS4 has been selling phenomenally. I don't think Sony's in any trouble, and I think Sony's making the exactly correct moves leading into the PlayStation 5. But yeah, that's about all I got for this. Like I said, I've got about another 4 or 5 articles set up, and we will move on and talk about them after this quick break. All right, guys, how y'all doing? We're back with our final block of articles. I had 4 planned, but you know what? The last article was just something I was finding funny, and I tweeted about it earlier in the week, or late last week, and I just thought, why cover it? And also, this first one's fairly on the longer end. Now, they're saying this article was from 23 days ago, yet it showed up really recently in my Twitter timeline. But either way, we're going to be covering this because I never really covered this in the first place. So I think this is an interesting thing to talk about, because I know people are actually really excited about this game. Maybe not me, because I didn't. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't play the first Beyond Good and Evil game. So. But I know it had a massive hit. It was a cult hit. A lot of people really liked it. So here we go. Beyond Good and Evil 2 devs lay out the game's timeline, mysteries, and who, in parentheses, or what you'll play as. Article Sam Perel, Games Radar. The original Beyond Good and Evil is a bit like Star Wars. Sure, there were hints and references to a larger universe, but mostly it was a focused story about an orphan with mysterious origins fighting back against an oppressive empire. Beyond Good and Evil 2, however, is going whole hog on the fantasy of interstellar adventure. Today, during a live stream update on the long-awaited follow-up to 2003's cult favorite, creative director Michael Ansel, Associate Creative Director Emile Morel, and Senior Producer Guillaume Brunier. I don't know. I give it my best shot. Took the time to explain how the game will expand on the original, some ways in which it will diverge, and just who or what you're going to play as. You can watch the whole thing below or read on for our summary. First up was a clarification on the timeline. Although numbered as a sequel, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is actually a prequel, at least chronologically speaking. While the story won't tie directly into the adventures of heroine Jade experienced in the first BGE, or BG and E, whatever, it does take place in the same galaxy, just one solar system down the cosmic lane, and sometime after her birth. Wait a minute. It does take place in the same galaxy, just one solar system down the cosmic lane. Okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't putting something weird wasn't lining up in my head, because it's talking about after her birth, but it's also talking about that it's before the first game. But I guess the first game takes place also after her birth. So never mind. I'm back on track. I'm just dumb. Let's see here. Morel said that the studio has a much longer history of the BG&E universe, though stretching from 2040 to 2360, there we go, and beyond. This helps keep the team grounded and cognizant of the events that lead up to the game. It's filled with scientific advancements that make interplanetary colonization feasible, technology crises that cause humanity to shy away from artificial intelligence and robotics, the creation of human-animal hybrids, the evolution of extraterrestrial. God, why can't I read this word? I'm wearing my reading glasses. I can actually see the words. I just, for some reason, can't pronounce this one. The evolution of extraterrestrial civilizations, from simple base camps to full-fledged metropoli, a few unsolved mysteries, and a golden age of space piracy. If that sounds like a lot of setup, well, it is. But as Ansel explained, and I quote, "When you're working on a big world, you need big foundations," end quote. The history also helps explain much of BG&E's universe unique aesthetic, which lies somewhere between the Fifth Element and the furry section of DeviantArt. Alright, credit, that was pretty funny. Oh my god. For example, the world is sufficiently advanced to the point of starships, but because humanity already suffered through a digital uprising, it's not clear if this was a full-blown Matrix-style machine uprising or something less bloody. Much of the tech you see is analog, or at least disconnected from a large-scale network like the internet. To make up for the lost productivity provided by a robotic workforce, humanity developed hybrids, creatures genetically molded from human and animal DNA. So now you know why there are pig people and monkey people, and so on, in a world where space pirates make their gateways on a beat-up hover scooter. God, I will say, a lot of people were, freaking out when that got announced at E3, but I gotta say that trailer was pretty neat. Although quite large in scale with multiple planets to visit, BG&E 2 won't be infinite or galaxy-sized. Ansel said that he wants the content to be handcrafted and not rely on procedural generation. Looking at you, No Man's Sky. If you visit a city, there should be a reason why that city is there. Likewise, there will be mysteries to solve and goals to reach, placed there by the developers. And I quote, "Everything needs to be tied together through the story. The world is the story," end quote, Ansel said, explaining that players will start as a would-be space pirate who works their way up to captain. This player avatar will be customizable, a departure from the first game's set protagonist, and can be humanoid. God damn it, it can be human or hybrid. The team didn't reveal what species player will be able to pick from, should they choose the latter, but concept art included a chameleon, tiger, monkey, elephant, and panda. Oh, can I make ducks from Mutant Year Zero? Can I be a half human, half duck? Just because I like the name ducks. Yeah, again, interesting concepts. I like the create your protagonist thing. Again, it's always my thing. I want the character to still have a voice and everything. I'm not a big fan of the voice as protagonist, as I've said multiple times before. But I think this is an interesting idea, and at least they're also mentioning that there's a story here. When we were seeing it at E3 and everything I've seen leading up to this point really has been very wishy-washy on this. So this is really starting to make me more interested in the title and making me go, okay, maybe I will enjoy this. Regardless of what they look like, what DNA they possess, your captain will have to assemble a ragtag crew in order to reach the deepest, most dangerous corner of the stars, where an alien artifact of unknown power waits. Ansel didn't get into specifics, but mentioned classifications like medic and spy, suggesting crew members will be class or role-based, and that you'll have a main crew consisting of a handful of characters, plus the support crew to help you on your mission and keep the engines running smoothly. And if you don't want to rely on NPCs, you can call on real-life friends for help. Now, that's something I'm not a big fan of. I don't like the calling in of real people into my single-player game, but whatever, I can deal with that. And that's pretty much everything the team was willing to talk about for now, though more info, and I suspect a trailer, will be coming at E3, which is fine. I may need that much time to process all this. Personally, I get a bit of a Mass Effect 2 vibe when Ansel talks about recruiting crew members to undertake a dangerous, possibly suicidal mission to an unknown part of space, and with how good the first game's story and characters were, I'm glad to hear that this will still be a focus on Beyond Good and Evil 2. Space piracy is fun and all, but I tend to burn out on sandboxes that don't hook me with a narrative. Thank you! But what do you think? Blah, 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 blah. Totally agree. I think that's this does give a very big Mass Effect vibe to it. I think this is a very interesting concept. So far, I mean, from what we've seen previously, it looks like there's going to be like ship customization, buying more ships, flying around is going to be interesting. Like, the world is massive for what it is. I mean, from when they first showed it to us, I was thinking something like No Man's Sky, but now hearing that the planets are set and that they're actually made to be a certain way, I have more faith in this game. This entire article has given me more interest in the game itself. And you know what? I can't wait for Ubisoft's presentation at E3. I'm sure we'll find out more about it come that time. Moving on, Resident Evil 7 Cloud version announced for Nintendo Switch. Article however that's pronounced, right? Philip, I don't know how to pronounce that. You can find it down in the description, link to the article. Resident Evil 7 is coming to Nintendo Switch, though it's not really what you'd expect from your typical port. The title will be released exclusively on the Japanese eShop this week and will only be playable via the cloud. While Capcom has stated that players will be able to experience the game on Switch while playing both docked and undocked, they will still need a stable internet connection to do so. Resident Evil 7 Cloud will include all 4 DLC packs released on console and PC, thus making it a complete collection for the 7th iteration in the series. Players will be able to experience the first 15 minutes of the game for free, but will be prompted to buy a 180-day service pass if they'd like to keep playing past the trial period. Pricing is currently set at 2,000 yen, which roughly translates to 1801. Save files will also be stored in the cloud rather than the console itself. Capcom has stated that the save files linked with inactive accounts may be subject to deletion. There's still no information on availability in other regions, but a second announcement may very well follow in the days leading up to E3. Yeah, I think it would be weird if they didn't release it on the other on other platforms. But I think the most interesting part about this is the fact that this is cloud based and not being put directly into your game. And the question is, why is this? Is it for, how to put this? Is it's like this service pass thing? Is there, I can't think of a real reason why you put it on the cloud and not do an honest to God, do an honest to God port. Is it maybe it's just my non-knowing of, my ignorance on the development process of this. Is it easier to do it this way? Is it just you put it up on the cloud and somehow it's easier to run rather than doing a direct port? I find this is just a very interesting story. I mean, with how good Resident Evil 7 was, it was just damn good. I don't get why you don't do it justice and come out with a full release on Switch. I mean, tell me what you guys think of the bottom. I mean, I really didn't have a lot to say about this one. I just wanted to bring this up to you guys and ask, what do you guys think? What do you think that this is a bad idea? This is a good idea? Maybe tell me if I'm misunderstanding something and why they did this. I don't know. I find it to be an odd decision, and I'm curious to hear what you guys say. Moving on to our final article coming by way of Game Informer. The Wolf Among Us Season 2 launching in 2019. Article Imran Khan. Like I said, Game Informer. As you give me a moment to quietly cry. I'm done. One single manly tear down the side of my face. The second season of The Wolf Among Us, Telltale's noirish graphic adventure based on the Bill Willingham comic series Fables will launch in 2019. Telltale had previously announced the new season of the episodic detective story would land in the later half of 2018, but now has to put the game off to release next year. The reason, according to Telltale, is because of internal changes within the company. And I quote, "This delay comes as the result of a few fundamental changes here at Telltale since we first announced the game last summer." Telltale wrote in a blog post, "Most importantly, we're committed to exploring new ways to tell our stories. Taking this extra time will allow us not only to focus on quality, but also to experiment and iterate in order to craft something truly special," unquote. The changes are likely referring to the reconstructing and layoffs last year that resulted in 25% of the company losing their jobs. Since then, Telltale has been hiring for Unity engineers and developers, suggesting that the studio is making a change from the engine it has been using for most of its games in the past. I'll just go ahead with the art take before I give my take. The Wolf Among Us definitely in top 3 Telltale games. I've been anticipating this new one just as long as the quality's there. I agree with that. I don't necessarily mind the delay as much as I just want the quality to be good, because I want them to do justice to the first season. I loved the first Wolf Among Us. I thought it was amazing. I also think that there needs to be a sequel to Tales from the Borderlands, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. I'm also curious what's going on with the last season of The Walking Dead. I'm going to assume that's also getting pushed to 2019. Looking at the season 2, I'm going to guess that there's something very important with Snow White, seeing the snow crystals there. But yeah, the big thing. I'm fine with the delay. I understand the delay. I really wish it was still coming out soon because I want it, but I get it. The thing that I actually found the most interesting out of this was the idea of maybe a switch to the Unity engine, which on one hand, I hope they kind of keep the moving graphic novel style, because I think it works for Telltale, and I really like that about the Telltale games. But I think it'll look really pretty in the Unity engine. Again, looking back into not a similar game in terms of art style, but in terms of concept. Let's go to what Life is Strange Before the Storm had or looked like. That game was really sharp. It looked really pretty, especially if you compare it to the first Life is Strange that was running on Unreal 2. I think it was Unreal 2. It was one of the early iterations of the Unreal Engine, but it looked so much better compared to the original Life is Strange. And I think the Unity engine would look good with Telltale's style and all that. And I'm also interested to hear what these explore new ways to tell our stories and new ways to kind of like play the games and whatnot. I'm curious as to what that means, but as long as it means more Wolf Among Us, it's good. The characters are still there. The performances are top notch like they were. I'm good. Again, like with the last one, tell me with any of these things, tell me what you think down in the comments below. But that's going to about do it for this one, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. You can always find me over on Facebook, Twitter, the website, minds.com. Links, all that stuff is down in the description below. Please remember, down also in the description are links to every article and video that I talked about. Please remember that these are the people who do the real hard work. These are people who really compile everything and write everything. That they're the people who do the real hard work. I just sit here, aggregate, and give my opinions, and I'm just some punk with a YouTube channel. These are the people who actually have jobs and, get the scoops and do all the writing. And as somebody who does a lot of that news writing in their own day job, it's not easy. So, like I said, please go support these sites and all that. Other than that, thank you for watching, everybody. Sorry the first bit of the show was a bummer. I hope the end of it made up for it. Other than that, like, comment, not already, please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more next time. But until then, guys, I'm AJ Gels, the Selling Gaming Channel. I'm out.